Vampire cult. In 1985, a few teenagers living in Florida went to the police station to report one of their friends was missing. They claimed that their friend, Sara, was supposed to hang out with them last night, but she never showed up. Not only this, her phone had been switched off since yesterday and nobody knew where she was. The police were filing the report when they received a mysterious call. On the other line, there was someone screaming and crying. Even after repeatedly asking who it was, the police didn't get an answer. They decided to trace the number and further investigate the call. The call had come from quite far away from Florida, but they still weren't able to figure out the exact location of the caller. That's when two officers, Brad and Derek, were driving a van and saw someone lying on the roadside. The two of them got out of the van and approached the person. That person was none other than Sara. Her friends had given them Sara's photo while registering their complaint, which helped the cops to identify Sara. Sara's body had turned blue and her left arm was bleeding. The police immediately took her to the hospital. After examining Sara's condition, the doctors told the officers that blood had been drained out consistently from her body over the last 2 days, which had made her very weak. At first, this seemed like a case of kidnapping, but then the doctor said something that stunned everyone there. Sara's 3 teeth were missing. There were marks on her hands and on her back. Something was written in an unknown language. Brad and Derek believed that Sara must have been kidnapped by a rare demonic group of people and decided to investigate further. Brad collected Sara's clothes and told Derek to get as much information he could from the clothing. At the same time, Brad drove about an hour out to the forest where Sara had been found. He walked further ahead on the road, but a while later, he was again right back at the same spot where he started. He couldn't understand what had happened with him. Just then he saw a few people, soaked in blood, coming towards his car. They looked really scary and slowly kept moving towards Brad. He was horrified and he quickly reached for his gun at the back of his car and pointed it in their direction. But he was shocked to see that all of them had now disappeared. Before he could leave the place, he felt extremely tired and sleepy, as if someone had cast a spell on him. He woke up later and found himself tied to a table in an old house. Blood from his body was being transferred to a bottle. In front of him sat a woman and a man. The two of them looked normal and were casually talking to each other while eating their food. But next to their food, there was a bottle full of blood. And to Brad's amazement, they were drinking that blood. Brad was disgusted seeing this and realized that the two of them were probably vampires. When he looked around, he saw certain items that are used for black magic. There also was a bunch of teeth lying there, which is generally a means to please evil powers. Things were now getting clearer to Brad. He understood that these very people must have been the ones who kidnapped Sara. As the night went by, Brad felt really weak, but somehow he managed to free his tied hands and run away from the house. After getting out, he saw a phone booth and called the police station from there. Derek picked up the call, and Brad started narrating the entire incident. But Derek could only hear someone screaming and crying. When Derek traced the call and followed the location, he found Brad exactly at the same place where they had found Sara. Derek rushed Brad to the hospital, but Brad didn't survive. On the other hand, Sara also died in a few days because of the extreme blood loss from her body. After that incident, every night Derek investigated that area where he found both Sara and Brad. After a few days, he found an old house in the middle of the forest, which had a telephone booth right outside. The house was vacant. When Derek and his team further investigated the house, they got to know that a group of secret vampires was behind all of this, who drank humans' blood to keep their bodies alive. And they also used black magic for this. Since that day, no such new cases were reported in Florida, but many such stories of vampires are popular across the world. Do you guys believe in vampires? Do tell us in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe to our channel Bloody Monday for chilling horror stories every week.